Hi YouTubers, this is another video from your friendly neighborhood reviewer, Helen. Today we're going to be reviewing a different series. I did a reaction video to the trailer of 1923 starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. See the thumbnail here. And I was very interested with the series. I finally have caught up with all the seasons of Yellowstone, and it leaves me interested the way that Tyler Sheridan, which I was surprised to see him watching the Sons of Anarchy with my dad as they're at the sheriff. So irony there, and I know that Tyler Sheridan plays another cowboy within his own series of Yellowstone. So to anybody unfamiliar about what 1923 is, it's the prequel, the origins of the Dutton family that went and settled their ranch in Montana. 1883, I've seen some clips. It's like the original family where they got to where they got to. My understanding, it was the death of Elsa being where her dad, John Dutton, the original Dutton, went and settled her in Montana, so her grave is there. And what followed after was 1923, the next generation of the Dutton family. So we all have 1923. It opens up with Helen Mirren playing Cara Dutton. She's the wife of Jacob Dutton, who is played by Harrison Ford. So Harrison, I was like, when I saw his acting here, you don't see him as Harrison Ford, you see him as Jacob Dutton. And Helen Mirren as Cara Dutton. You can see Helen Mirren taking on the Irish accent, because in time-wise, between that time period with the Great Depression and the famine was going on in Ireland, a lot of Irish people traveled by boat to America to start afresh in a new land, which is understandable, of course. Since, I live in the UK, it's well known that England and Ireland and Scotland, they're well known for producing potato. And of course, with the potato famine, it left a lot of people starving, so of course you travel to different countries. So I've seen episode 1 and 2, and it's a very good series. So far, we get the opening shot of Cara Dutton shooting down a trespasser with a shotgun. We get backstory that Elsa narrates that her mother was stuck in a blizzard in a cabin and went and wrote to her husband's brother, Jacob, for him to come down and save her family for the cold winter. And when Jacob Dutton, aka Harrison Ford, arrives to the ranch in Montana in the winter, the mom, Margaret Dutton, from 1883, was dead frozen, and she found both of her sons almost near starved, in which Jacob Dutton finds Margaret's sons of Jack and Spencer Dutton half alive. So Jacob goes and settles into the ranch of his brother and expands it into a proper ranch, herding cattle, X, Y, and Z, and that big patch of land is theirs. From what I read, and my understanding, that both Cara Dutton and Jacob, they didn't have children on their own, so they more raised Spencer and Jack as their own sons. So we get put to where they are currently in 1923. There's a locust eating up all the ranchers and sheep herders' land. And there's a big discussion going on between I assume all the sheep herders in Montana at that time were all Irish. And there's kind of like that dispute between the sheep herders and the cattle wranglers, let's say. And we can see how the set and everything is meant to reflect 1923. And we get cameos from different actors. The actor playing the sheriff, he's you remember Terminator 2 and some other series. This actor is playing the sheriff. So Jacob has to deal with the sheep herders invading on other people's land for their sheep to be fed grass. So there's that kind of dispute going on. So I'll put some scenes here that Jacob's there in a town meeting with the sheep herders, and they're there fighting, saying that Jacob Dutton has the biggest piece of land, he's keeping the whole mountain to himself, and the sheep herders saying they have no control where the sheep go, but nobody's having none of it. So there's like a big fist fight that goes on in the town meeting, and the sheriff has to shoot his gun in the air, which is so hilarious. So we see that there is deep altercations with Jacob Dutton and the sheep herders, and we see that the big thing about the series is 1923, it seemed the new modern era come about, the car/automobiles, and we see the cowboys coming into town in their horses. So it's a clash between the old and the modern era coming together. At particular time. And also we find out that the two sons, Spencer Dutton, he served in World War I, so he's suffering deeply from post-traumatic stress. He's out there in Africa being like a hunter, hunting down lions, hyenas, leopards that are attacking the tourist people that are going to South Africa that say the English and so on to help them survive in the wild. So he's there and he's there battling his own demons, let's say. And then we see Jack, his younger brother, that he's about to get married to a nice young lady with blonde hair, blue eyes, that type of thing. She's also the daughter of another rancher. But due to what's going on with the cattle not having enough food to eat during the locusts basically eating up everything and infecting the cattle, that Jacob Dutton tells everybody that they have to move the cattle up to another part of the mountain. Like, it's going to take more time for them to eat some hay, to move them up slowly. So from episode 1 to 2 we get these cool shots, but Jack has to tell his bride-to-be that they have to postpone the wedding. And we kind of see in that time, the naivety of man. Jack tells his uncle / dad, let's say, that he'll just tell his bride-to-be that, you know, in this case, the cattle are important. And both men laugh, saying you tell a woman at the time that that cattle are more important than the bride to get married, you can expect the repercussion. And also within episode 1 to 2, we see the plight of the Native American Indians, what happened after the war, that the Native American Indians between the Americans, and we see that the Native American Indian girls were rounding up into a boarding house run by nuns and the priest. So basically it's just abuse what happened. The objective of the Catholic Church, whatever in that time, Protestant, whatever, is to teach them to be God-fearing people, Americanized or religionized, whatever, that the Native American Indian girls couldn't speak in their own language, that if they didn't remember certain things, they'd be abused. So the main girl that's portraying the plight of the American Indians is... Okay, so I had to stop for a bit. I found out that Tiona Rainwater. Now, I just got shook for a minute. In Yellowstone, we have the chairman Rainwater. So maybe this woman here is the present chairman's of the reservation's great-great-grandmother. Jesus. The actress name is Amina Neves. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing this name. She's showing the cruelties of, her character showing the cruelties of what happened in this Catholic boarding school with all the Native Americans getting abused, being taught how to be a white person. So her story is showing what the atrocities that continue to happen, because it's one part of the history which needs to be exposed, which is just what happened to the Native American Indians. They're the ones that originally were in America. People correct me about the historical facts. I only know what I've seen in some documentaries. Not like I memorized these facts. Of course, when Christopher Columbus discovered America and all these white men from Britain, let's say, from England, the UK, they're the ones that went and attacked them and tried to colonize them and trick them. And of course, it was never their land to begin with. So I'm not going to start a whole historical debate here. That's one thing that is important to share those facts. So basically from episode 1 to 2, episode 2 was more heavily featured with Spencer Dutton's story, in which at the end of episode 1, he was there, he went and shot down a leopard, but one thing he didn't know, the leopard came in a pair, male leopard and a female leopard, in which the leopard killed one of his guides, which was I think a South African guide, a black guy, and one of the guys got murdered. Well, killed, not murdered, as an animal, so it got killed by the other leopard. Spencer Dutton survives, but not getting himself torn to shreds on his chest. Didn't look that deep, but it looked deep enough. He managed to kill the second leopard, but unfortunately, one of the guides died. So while he's there with all the tourist people in South Africa in the encampment, he's trying to, manage his wounds, but he finds out that the manager of the camp, or this tourist thing, didn't tell him about the second leopard or the second set of footprints, in which Spencer Dutton goes and says, I'll shoot you if you don't apologize what happened to my guide, my friend, in which he does. So we can see everything going on, the racism, the discrimination, the colonization of white people. Just showing the facts of life, that that people with power and money, they don't care about the minority groups or people, disadvantaged backgrounds. So we've seen that, and of course Spencer dealing with his post-traumatic stress. In episode 2, we see he meets a English aristocrat. I don't want to say heiress because we don't know this woman's story. Blonde hair, blue eyes. She goes and talks to Spencer after he's there in the bar. She goes and asks Spencer what he does, the job he does, and he says, at the point of death is where you feel most alive, in which she says, oh, how romantic, because Spencer tells her, doing my job is nothing romantic. And we see that Spencer kind of has his interest in this woman. And by the end of episode 2, the woman, before getting married to this guy, the woman's name, Alexandra, or Alex. She has a change of heart while Spencer commissioned to go somewhere else by this guy, this English guy, to go and kill a hyena that's disturbing where they're planning to do train tracks in South Africa. So he goes off there, and the woman's there looking across when he's about to go into this automobile, this long car thing, and she then realizes her only chance to get away from a forced marriage with this other English aristocrat guy is to run off with Spencer, in which she sees Spencer go off in the car with the driver, and she grabs her bags and stuff. She's in trousers, boots, and a jacket, and runs off after him, which Spencer stops. So the romance of that time, you see the first guy, there's a spark, and you're thinking, he's my way out, which is representative of the views of what happened to women, different ethnic races, of how they were held so closely in a box by ultimately white guys, let's say. White guys. There's nothing else that we can, talk about it. Forced by their fathers, forced by the government to be in a kind of marginalized place. So she kind of sees Spencer as our way out. Spencer tells Alexandra, where I'm going is dangerous. Are you okay with that? And she says, if you want me to get out of this car, I'll go now. And then Spencer just says, okay, jump in. And then the guy that Alexandra was going to marry says, Alexandra. And then she shouts behind the car, find somebody there who can love you. So that's the end from episode 2. I like the series. There's a lot to cover. You guys let me know what you think about 1923 and what your thoughts about it. History is what it is. How painful it could be, that's history. And hopefully we'll go to give a lesson to the generation of now, not to repeat the same mistakes. That famous quote by Albert Einstein. Madness is when you do the same mistake twice, expecting a different result. So this series highlights the mistakes that humanity had did in trying to, conquer and coexist. And we get a very important dialogue from Harrison Ford as well, that a lot of land is a result of people conquering what other people have built in the past. And this series kind of shows that whoever built this monument, this tower, these cities, will have other people trying to conquer what other people have made. So this is the end of the video. You guys let me know what you thought about 1923 so far and how this ties together with the Yellowstone history. Anyway, this is the end. As I leave you always, bye!